Dune is the only project I've sat down to watch that is every bit as entertaining as it is boring. There's just something to it. It tends to happen after 1 or 2 attempts, but eventually something about Dune is going to catch your attention and sustain your attention. I fall into that category like crazy. It took a number of attempts for me to get through Dune, but when I did, it was absolutely worth it. Denis Villeneuve took the world by storm with his adaptation of the books by Frank Herbert, and I think the appeal of Dune is that it wasn't just another, sci-fi dystopian franchise. This had a lot of heart and a lot to say, a lot of commentary to make regarding the state of the world and the repercussions that come with religion and religious fanaticism. What's funny is Frank Herbert puts out the Dune books in 1960s, I think 1965, and then there's George Lucas who came with Star Wars in the 70s. So Dune did come before Star Wars. Do you know how crazy that is? Not that crazy. You can tell a lot of elements of Star Wars were borrowed from the Dune franchise, and there's no harm, no foul, but we do need to call it as is. I find it particularly interesting because I've been an anti-Star Wars person for a very, very, very long time. But my love for Dune is making me question and feel a need to reevaluate. I might need to reevaluate my relationship with Star Wars, because if Star Wars is something that borrowed from Dune, and Dune is as magnificent as it is, perhaps maybe Star Wars is way too big a franchise. It has to be the ultimate cash grab. Star Wars has to be up there with some of the most taxing franchises ever, with some project like every year or every couple of years for over 2 decades now. Do you know how crazy that is? Denis Villeneuve shook the world with Dune. You have Timothée Chalamet on a poster, Zendaya, Jason Momoa, Oscar Isaac, Rebecca Ferguson. From a PR standpoint, this film sold itself, and it's not surprising at all that it grossed as much as it did. Of course, it was a bit of a fake out with Zendaya in the first movie, considering the fact that she got an aggregate of I think 5 minutes of screen time total. Was it up to 5 minutes? But it's more than made up for it with the second film, where she truly does shine as Chani. We've seen Dune 1, we've seen Dune Part 2, and now Part 3 is upon us this December. And of course, you need a refresher, you need a reminder, you need a little recap of what these 2 movies really came with, what they really were about, and that's what I'm here for. Hi, I'm Tomiwa, and I love to share my takes on film, television, pop culture, books, you name it. It is a big year for lovers of comic book movies and sci-fi movies, from Project Hail Mary to Supergirl to Spider-Man Brand New Day, Avengers Doomsday, and the Dune conclusion. It scares me. It genuinely scares me just how much awaits us this year, particularly because I'm going to the cinema for every one of these. Are you joking? Every single one of these is going to see me in cinemas. But that's enough about that. Today we recap Dune. Let's get into it. The premise of Dune follows Paul Atreides, son of Leto Atreides and Jessica who's a member of the Bene Gesserit, and it's a situation where Leto isn't married to Jessica for the sake of his royal blood, wanting to keep himself open for a politically favorable marriage. And this seems like a very minor detail, but it is important, and I'll tell you why later in this video. Jessica is a noble per se, but she is Bene Gesserit, and I imagine that's how she was able to latch herself onto Leto. Although it does seem like there's some genuine love there, like they have a genuine connection. They aren't together married, but they are together. It's an interesting arrangement. I don't know, it's an interesting arrangement. That aside though, Jessica is a member of the Bene Gesserit, and this is important. This is extremely important. The world of Dune is this dystopian reality set thousands and thousands, I'm talking tens of thousands of years after our current reality. And of course, with humans leaving Earth and spreading out across the galaxy, there needs to be some structure, and this is where the Imperium comes in, where there's the Emperor and there's the Grey Houses, one of which is the Atreides house. Within the Imperium, the Bene Gesserit function as a religious religious but not religious society of high functioning women. And I'm talking next level women who have genetically modified themselves over the years and really refined the very nature of their being on a molecular level, physical level, mental level, spiritual level, every level. They are one tier above everyone else in terms of their thinking and their way of life. So of course it makes sense that from a political standpoint, you would find the Bene Gesserits fixed in strategic places, locations across the galaxy. And most people would do well to be wary of the Bene Gesserits because they are as mysterious as they are powerful. A lot of people, understandably, are wary of the Bene Gesserit because there's always a motive, always an ulterior motive, always a greater plan. Why are the Bene Gesserit important, you may ask? By the way, in case you didn't catch it by now, this episode will contain lots of spoilers. The Bene Gesserit are important to the story, specifically to Paul Atreides' story, for the fact that the Kwisatz Haderach prophecy that was perpetuated and propagated across the Imperium, particularly amongst the Fremen, to kind of prepare the way for Paul Atreides' coming, so to speak. And in the first Dune film, you really do see this materialize. The seeds are essentially sown with Paul and his mother finding themselves in exile, finding the Fremen, joining the Fremen. At the end of the first film, you hear the first whispers of Lisan al-Gaib, Lisan al-Gaib, meaning voice from the outer world. From the perspective of the Fremen people, that is the people of the desert, who are reclusive, who keep to themselves, who are self-sufficient, who live from and on the desert, Paul Atreides shares a number of similarities with the prophesied Kwisatz Haderach, the Messiah of the Fremen people, the Lisan al-Gaib, a figure that had been prophesied in advance by Bene Gesserit propaganda. And at the end of this first film, you see Paul particularly rejecting this notion, insisting upon his ordinariness. I'm just Paul, I'm not your Messiah. Which of course affirms to people like Stilgar that he is the Messiah, because in Stilgar's words, the Lisan al-Gaib is too humble to admit that he is the Lisan al-Gaib. All the more reason to know that he is the Lisan. Stilgar was the running gag of Dune for me. Every time this guy would open his mouth, I would just... He started out as this very rational person, respected philosophical person, but it quickly unravels just the extent to which he believes in the prophecy of Lisan al-Gaib. In the face of the materialization of this prophecy, could not be more satirical. Look at the world today with religion, with cults, with some of the harm that comes with people following very powerful, very charismatic leaders. This is kind of the cautionary tale that Dune is mapped out to be by both George Herbert and Denis Villeneuve. In fact, in Denis' adaptation of Dune, he takes a number of liberties just so he can really drive this point home. One of such liberties was with Chani, the character portrayed by Zendaya. Chani in the books was much more loyal to Paul. She was much more receptive, much more receiving of the concept of, you know what, this guy might actually be the one, the Messiah, the one prophesied to restore our water, restore our vegetation. That's the Chani in the books. Like, that is the Chani in the books. The Chani we see in the movies, to the frustration of many of the readers of the books. I didn't read the book, so I didn't share these frustrations. I just genuinely enjoyed what I was seeing. This Chani, portrayed by Zendaya, was the object of the ire of many, and I get it. Denis Villeneuve does a complete 180 on the Chani that readers had come to love and appreciate, with some accusing him of pursuing girl bossery over textual accuracy. A lot of things have been said, a lot of things have been tweeted, a lot of things have been think-pieced, but I feel like what Denis Villeneuve did kind of does serve its own purpose. The Chani we see in the movies is a skeptic. Through and through, she's a skeptic. Meeting Paul, she's skeptical. Making love to Paul, she's skeptical. At every point in time, she's cross-checking with this man. Are you sincere? Are you not chasing power? And she needs to hear a yes. Because if the answer is no, I'm in fact chasing power, all is lost for her people. She knows the kind of people she has. She knows how they hang on every word of this prophecy, of their religion, of their faith, of their beliefs. And she knows just how dangerous this will be. In her own words, this is how they enslave us. By having these people sit down, sit back waiting for a messiah to come to drop out of the sky and save them. They leave themselves vulnerable and open to be misled. In their hunger for a leader, in their hunger for such an authoritative figure with the power and the vim and the aura, they open themselves up to being led astray. And that's quite literally what things shape up to be in Dune. At the end of the second movie, Paul has just killed the Baron along with Fade Rotha, portrayed by Stellan Skarsgård, and Austin Butler, and he's just taken the hand of Princess Irulan, portrayed by Florence Pugh, to the dismay of Chani, where in the books, Chani is receptive, understanding of this relationship. Now I call back to the thing I said at the beginning with the relationship between Leto and Jessica being important. It's a very interesting father son situation you see unfold here. Very interesting. With him doing exactly as his father, opening himself up for a political partnership, despite the fact that he has this strong thing going on with Chani. And I get it. Chani in the books gets it. Chani in the movie though is struck because Chani in the movie is real, and I feel like that's a major difference from Chani in the books, though admittedly I haven't read the books. I just feel like the books may be a bit intense. I tried reading the Wicked books and I suspect it's going to be a very similar situation with the Dune books. I've kind of read up some synopses. What's the plural for synopsis? Anyways, it wasn't so promising. But like they say, do not judge a book by its cover. I'm going to read the Dune books, it's just a matter of time. Dune Part 2 ends on such a high note because the stakes have never been higher. It doesn't look like there's a happy ending in sight for any one of these characters, if we're being very real. I do predict it would be Paul dying at the hands of Chani because it's just so poetic that way. I don't know. I am excited though. I am excited because first of all, cast. I am a very shallow person. So with films, at least to an extent, with films, it's about the little things for me. The aesthetics of it all. The things you do with the wind and the hair and the colors and the characters. There are some shots from the first Dune movie and the second Dune movie that just tickled my brain. Whoa. In terms of cast, we have Robert Pattinson and Anya Taylor-Joy joining up for this third movie. Let that actually sink in. The unhinged performance I imagine we're going to get from Anya Taylor-Joy in her role as Alia, Paul's little sister, who, by the way, I'm scared for /of. I don't know how it unfolds in the books, but she was inside Jessica when Jessica drank the poison, the water of life. The nature of the water of life is that it opens up the mind, but it does much more than that. It's much more powerful than your average spice. The water of life kills you and births you anew, literally plants the memories of every single one of your genetic ancestors within you. And it's a very trippy concept. Imagine being born with pre-existing memories of lives that you never lived. She's going to be quite the freak, I can imagine. And it's Anya Taylor-Joy. We're in for something. As for Robert Pattinson as Skytail or Scytail, I don't know how it's pronounced. I mean, it's Robert Pattinson. And we are no strangers to this man's accent work. I was appalled when I heard the voice he used for the boy and the human.
And when it is, I'll take your arrogant lying swollen heart and rip it out.
I am going to create an environment that is so toxic.
The numerous accents he's put on over the years. The accent he had in The Devil All the Time. I want to see what he's cooked up for Dune Part 3. It's going to be an intense one for sure, with the stakes being higher than ever for everyone in question. I will always detest the fact that Marty Supreme was Timothée Chalamet's Oscar-nominated role as opposed to Paul Atreides. Did we all watch Dune Part 2? I feel like the Academy needs to reevaluate. Action movies, sci-fi, fantastical movies are actually some of the movies in which I've seen the most career-defining performances ever. Look at the Jokers, both Heath Ledger and Joaquin Phoenix. Look at Angela Bassett in Wakanda Forever. These are career-defining performances. In similar vein, Paul Atreides was a career-defining performance from Timothée Chalamet. The scene where he walks up into the South, talking about none of you can stand against me, none of you can challenge me, I am the Lisan Al Gaib, and he's saying all this shit in Chakopsa. It's not English, it's the cooked up language of the Dune universe, and he sells it. He gives the performance of a lifetime. It's not to discredit Marty Supreme at all, because that was another profound performance by Timothée Chalamet. It just was Michael B. Jordan's time, wasn't it? What Timothy did in Dune, both 1 and 2, deserving of something. I'm not even going to lie to you. And not just Timothy, Zendaya. It's some of her best work. What I saw in Dune 2, some of her best work. And it's hilarious to me when people talk about Zendaya plays herself in every role we see her in. Why is Zendaya everywhere? These are things you only hear with real top tier talent. So it's very affirming. Because the Zendaya that I know, that I've seen, wears a different hat in every single thing you see her in. The Zendaya of Euphoria is most definitely not the Zendaya of Challengers. It's most definitely not the Zendaya of the drama. It's most definitely not the Zendaya of Dune. She brings different skin, a different essence to every role that she steps into. And I think it's high time we give this woman her flowers instead of constantly trying to drag her down. She's here and she's here to stay. That's a fact. So at least I hope she's here to stay. Hearing whispers of retirement here and there from both her and Tom Holland. Let's hope they're teasing us. That's a pair we need to see working in Hollywood for a very, very long time. At least till they both carry their best actress and best actor awards. You know, there's another reason I'm so excited about Dune Part 3. If you've been around on this YouTube channel for some time now, you can probably surmise just how much I have love for Zendaya and Robert Pattinson. Every single time they step into the scene, something shifts. And I think that speaks very well of them. We saw them together in the drama, seeing them again in Dune, and of course, The Odyssey. It's a big year. It's a really, really big year for film. I give it to the casting director for Dune as well. What do you mean we had Golda Roosevelt playing Shout Out Me, the common attendants? Like, what? That was crazy to me, because of course I did see Dune way after Bridgerton launched itself and really cemented itself in pop culture. It was a trip to see her in there. And there's a number of shared actors from the Bridgerton cast in the Dune cast, particularly Dune Prophecy. In fact, now that I think about it, I haven't seen Dune Prophecy yet. Let's hope I can get through Dune Prophecy. Oh, who am I kidding? I'm probably going to love Dune Prophecy. Thanks for tuning into this episode of Tomiwa's Takes. If you agreed with the things I said or you really did not, tell me in the comments. What are you most excited about for Dune Part 3, or what are you most fearful about? Tell me in the comments. Tell me, do you have any theories of your own about the Dune movies and what to expect in Dune Part 3? Tell me. Or is there any project, any film, any series, book you want me to look into, make an episode about? Tell me in the comments. I love reading you guys' comments. I love hearing you guys' feedback in real time. Of course, if you did enjoy this episode, leave a like and of course, subscribe. Also, connect with me on my Instagram, on my TikTok. It's been me and it's been real. Bye.